We are counting down the top 15 weight loss tricks that swept through Black communities in the 1970s. Some so creative, doctors urge women to stop them on sight. From playground workouts fueled by childhood nostalgia to riskier fads passed through kitchen whispers and church pews, each entry captures a blend of resilience, resourcefulness, and controversy. Which strategy combined safety, community, and real results, and which were pure trouble? Let us begin with number 15. Jump ropes dangled from doorknobs and coat hooks in nearly every Black household in the 1970s. For many women and girls, skipping rope was not just a playground game, it was the cheapest, fastest way to get the heart pumping without spending a dime. Apartment courtyards and cracked sidewalks became makeshift gyms, echoing with the snap of nylon ropes and the laughter of friends turning double dutch. 5 or 10 minutes at a time, sometimes squeezed in before school or after dinner, these bursts of skipping could torch around 10 to 12 calories a minute, and modern exercise science backs it up. That meant a short session, just a few songs worth, could burn as much as a whole walk around the block. No fancy sneakers, no gym memberships, no coaches, just rhythm, a rope, and bare pavement. Oral histories recall mothers joining their daughters for a quick set of skips, breathless and grinning, before heading back to chores. Some women even challenged each other to see who could go the longest without tripping, turning a simple activity into a community event. Doctors actually approved of this one. Jumping rope built endurance, coordination, and strong hearts, all with equipment that cost less than $1. But the real magic was in how accessible it felt. Anyone could join in, no matter their size or skill level. The trick was safe, playful, and nostalgic, carrying the joy of childhood into adulthood. It did not promise dramatic weight loss overnight, but it fit into busy lives and tight budgets. For families living in high-rise apartments or city blocks, a jump rope was more than a toy. It was a ticket to movement, laughter, and a little bit of freedom. That is why jump rope courtyard workouts open this countdown, simple, joyful, and as real as the pavement beneath your feet. Stairs shaped daily life for Black women in the 1970s, especially in city neighborhoods packed with walk-up apartments and church buildings with no elevators in sight. Fifth-floor living was not just an address, it was a workout built right into the walls. Carrying bags of groceries, hauling laundry baskets, or shepherding children up and down, every step counted as unintentional exercise. Climbing stairs burns between 8 and 10 calories per minute, according to public health studies, and works the glutes, thighs, and calves harder than most at-home routines. For women juggling jobs and family, those flights of stairs were a chance to squeeze in vertical cardio without ever changing clothes. Oral accounts from women who grew up in these buildings recall mothers and aunties timing themselves on the stairwells, racing to beat their own best times, or challenging neighbors after Sunday service. Some even made a game of it, who could reach the top floor fastest or carry the heaviest load without stopping. The repetitive climb built leg strength and stamina, and over time it showed firmer legs, better balance, and a surprising boost in heart health. Doctors sometimes praised the benefits, but rarely acknowledged how much this everyday movement mattered, especially for women who could not afford gym memberships or home equipment. In neighborhoods where space was tight and time even tighter, staircases became the original step machines, no batteries required. Whether in a bustling apartment block or a busy church, these flights turned daily routines into steady, muscle-building workouts. For Black women in the 1970s, the climb was constant, the burn was real, and the results were earned one step at a time. Glass jars of senna and cascara bark teas lined the shelves of Black-owned pharmacies and corner stores in the 1970s, promising a quick drop on the scale for $1 or $2. These herbal laxatives, advertised in the back pages of Ebony and Jet, claim to flush out pounds overnight. No prescription, no questions asked. Women brewed the bitter leaves in kitchen mugs, sometimes adding lemon or honey to soften the taste, and sipped before bed, hoping to wake up lighter by morning. By sunrise, the effect was clear: a rush to the bathroom, a flatter stomach, and a number on the scale that dipped, if only for a day. Behind the dangers, though, hid real harms. Senna and cascara work by forcing the bowels to contract. They pull water from the body and cause rapid fluid loss rather than true fruit fat burn. Doctors in the era issued warnings in medical journals and local health columns. Repeated use could lead to painful cramping, unpredictable diarrhea, and critical losses of potassium and other electrolytes. Without enough potassium, the heart could skip beats or even stop. But in neighborhoods where medical care was scarce and trust in doctors ran low after the Tuskegee revelations, these warnings rarely reached the women who needed them most. What made these teas so tempting was their easy access. No appointment, no judgment, just a box on a shelf, often with a smiling woman on the label. For women desperate for results before a big event, the risk felt worth it. Yet the weight always returned once the body rehydrated and the cycle would start again. Today, gastroenterologists caution against using herbal laxatives for weight loss, stressing that the only thing lost is water and sometimes health. In the countdown of 1970s weight loss tricks, these teas stand out as a cautionary tale, quick fixes that came with a hidden price. Recipe cards changed hands like currency in black neighborhoods during the 1970s, and one card that made the rounds more than most promised a week of dramatic weight loss: the cabbage soup diet. Women traded handwritten instructions at church, slipped them into purses at salons, and taped them to kitchen cabinets. The plan was simple: eat as much homemade cabbage soup as you wanted for 7 days, with a few added vegetables or a small portion of meat on certain nights. The soup itself was a humble mix of chopped cabbage, tomatoes, celery, onions, and green peppers simmered in water or low-sodium broth. The promise was to drop up to 10 pounds by the end of the week. The secret behind the claim was pure math. A bowl of cabbage soup delivers barely 100 calories, and most women on the plane ate less than 1,000 calories a day. The scale often moved quickly, but doctors warned that most of the pounds lost were just water, not fat. Protein was scarce, so muscle loss and fatigue were common side effects. Medical journals at the time flagged crash diets like this for risking vitamin deficiencies and low energy, but the warnings rarely made it into those kitchen conversations. For women facing high grocery prices and little time, the appeal was obvious: cheap ingredients, big batches, and visible results, at least for a little while. The cabbage soup diet became more than a fad. It was a shared ritual. Families remembered the smell of simmering soup filling the house, and recipe cards stained with broth passed from one generation to the next. Even as the pounds crept back after the diet ended, the story of that 1 week, the hunger, the hope, the numbers dropping every morning, became part of family lore. Doctors may have rolled their eyes, but in kitchens across Black America, cabbage soup meant action, community, and the stubborn belief that a simple pot could change everything, if only for 7 days. Mornings in 1970s kitchens often began with a sharp, tangy ritual: a glass of apple cider vinegar mixed with fresh grapefruit juice. Women squeezed the fruit by hand, measuring out spoonfuls of vinegar, sometimes adding a little honey to take the edge off the sour bite. The tonic was said to melt fat, a claim that traveled by word of mouth, recipe cards, and the backs of magazines like Ebony. Some swore by it, sipping their concoction before breakfast in hopes of shrinking their waistlines without giving up home-cooked meals. The kitchen chemistry behind this drink relied on two main ideas. First, apple cider vinegar with its pungent acetic acid was believed to curb appetite and boost metabolism. Modern studies have found only a slight effect, 2 to 4 pounds lost over several months, and even then, only with regular use and a healthy diet. Grapefruit juice, packed with vitamin C and water, added bulk and a sense of fullness, but its main power came from folklore, not science. Doctors in the 1970s were quick to raise their eyebrows. Dentists warned that the acid could erode tooth enamel, especially when sipped daily without rinsing. Gastroenterologists cautioned that too much vinegar might irritate the stomach or worsen heartburn. Still, the appeal was strong, the ingredients were cheap, easy to find, and did not require a prescription or a trip to the doctor's office. For women wary of pills and wary of medical advice, after years of being ignored or dismissed, a homemade tonic felt safer and more in their control. The apple cider vinegar and grapefruit drink closed out the trio of diet fads that defined the era's kitchen remedies. Unlike harsh laxatives or crash diets, it came with fewer risks, but also little proven benefit. What it offered was hope, a small daily act of self-care that fit between boiling cabbage soup and heading out for a walk. Even as doctors remained skeptical, the ritual endured, passed down in family stories, and remembered for its promise, if not its results. Plastic hula hoops, bright and cheap, slid from toy bins to living room floors in Black households across the 1970s. For many women, the hoop was not just a child's plaything. It became a go-to tool for trimming the waist without ever leaving home. After dinner, mothers and daughters pushed aside the coffee table, put on the radio, and saw who could keep the hoop spinning the longest. 15 to 20 minutes of steady swirling worked the core and hips, with modern exercise science now showing that this kind of session burns 100 to 150 calories. The movement was low impact, easy on the joints, and did not require any special gear, just rhythm and a little bit of space. Doctors at the time dismissed hula hooping as a passing craze, calling it more novelty than exercise. Medical journals rarely even mentioned it, and when they did, it was often with a shrug. But for women juggling jobs, kids, and tight budgets, the appeal was obvious. The hoop cost less than a couple of dollars and could be used in any weather, any hour, even with rollers in your hair and slippers on your feet. Stories from the era recall laughter echoing down apartment halls as friends and neighbors joined in, sometimes turning it into a friendly contest who could last through a whole song without the hoop hitting the floor. The playful energy made it easy to forget you were exercising at all, and for many, it was the first taste of fitness that felt like fun, not work. Hula hooping did not promise dramatic results overnight, but it tightened waists, built confidence, and fit into the rhythm of daily life. It was affordable, safe, and accessible, a small act of self-care that anyone could try, no matter their size or skill. For Black women in the 1970s, the living room became the gym, and the hula hoop was the ticket in. Mapped walking routes carved through Black neighborhoods in the 1970s, winding past corner stores, churches, and rows of brick houses. Women often paced out loops of 1 to 3 miles, measuring the distance by city blocks or counting the time it took to circle the park. These daily walks needed no special clothes, no gym fees, and no equipment, just a pair of sturdy shoes and a friend or two to join along. Oral histories recall women rising early to walk before work or gathering in the cool of the evening, sharing stories and laughter as they moved. The habit was as much about connection as cardio. Walkers greeted neighbors, checked on elders, and sometimes gathered a group so large it turned a quiet street into a moving block party. Doctors in the 1970s rarely objected to walking. In fact, most praised it as the safest and most reliable way to keep weight down and blood pressure in check. Medical studies later confirmed what these women already knew. Walking briskly for 30 to 45 minutes burns about 150 to 200 calories, improves heart health, and builds endurance over time. For many, the mapped routes became a daily ritual, part exercise, part social hour, and part neighborhood watch. Walking together offered safety, especially for women navigating city streets after dark, and created a sense of ownership over their blocks. Unlike indoor hooping or solo routines, these neighborhood walks made fitness a shared experience. Some women marked their progress by how many laps they could finish before the streetlights flickered on, or by how many friends they could coax to join. The walking routes grew into invisible threads, connecting households, generations, and entire communities. While the calorie burn was moderate compared to jumping rope, the consistency and camaraderie kept women coming back day after day. For Black women in the 1970s, mapped walking routes weren't just about losing weight, they were about moving together, claiming space, and building strength one step at a time. Saturday nights in the 1970s meant Motown on the record player, and living rooms packed wall to wall with people moving to the beat. Black women turned house parties into dance marathons, burning calories without ever calling it a workout. Hits from the Temptations or the Supremes set the pace, and the energy rarely dipped. One song bled into the next, and sometimes the dancing stretched for hours. It was not unusual for a party to last until 2 or 3 in the morning, with everyone drenched in sweat and grinning ear to ear. Dancing to Motown was not just about fun. Endurance built up fast. Moving, spinning, clapping, and stepping meant the whole body worked overtime. Modern exercise science confirms that high-intensity dancing can easily match or outpace traditional cardio, burning 400 to 600 calories an hour, depending on the intensity. Back then, nobody counted steps or tracked heart rates, but the results showed up in stamina, mood, and fit clothes. The music itself made it easy to keep going long past the point when a solo workout would have ended. What set these gatherings apart was the sense of pride and belonging. The music was Black, the moves were Black, and so was the joy. Dancing together connected generations, mothers, daughters, aunties, and cousins all found their groove on the same hardwood floor. In a world where gyms felt unwelcoming or out of reach, Motown dance parties brought fitness home. Doctors rarely mentioned dancing as exercise, but the women who lived it knew better. The laughter, the sweat, and the feeling of being alive, those were the real rewards. Motown dancing turned ordinary weekends into celebrations of movement, culture, and community, all while quietly building strong hearts and lasting memories. Scrubbing floors on hands and knees, hauling baskets of wet laundry to the backyard, beating dust from heavy rugs. These were daily realities for Black women in the 1970s, and each chore doubled as a workout. In households without dishwashers or vacuum cleaners, every meal meant a sink full of plates to wash by hand, sometimes for an hour or more. Line drying clothes required lifting, reaching, and pinning, with arms stretched overhead in the sun. Beating rugs outside demanded strength and rhythm, sending clouds of dust into the air and working the entire upper body. For many women, these tasks were not optional. They were the backbone of keeping a home running, especially in large families or multi-generational households. Occupational activity studies now show that this kind of sustained manual labor can burn as many calories as time spent at the gym. Scrubbing floors for an hour can use up 200 to 300 calories, rivaling a brisk walk or a session on a modern elliptical. Hanging laundry, sweeping, and hand-washing clothes add up over the course of a day, often totaling several hours of movement. For women who rarely sat still, the calorie burn was constant, even if nobody called it exercise. Doctors in the 1970s rarely recognized housework as legitimate fitness. The labor was invisible, expected, unpaid, and taken for granted by nearly everyone except the women who did it. But reframing these chores as exercise became a quiet act of self-respect. Women reasoned that if the work left them tired and sore, it must be doing something for their bodies. In truth, These routines built endurance, strength, and flexibility, all without a single gym membership or trendy workout plan. Housework as exercise was not glamorous, but it was universal and accessible. For Black women in the 1970s, it was proof that the body could grow strong through everyday resilience, turning necessity into a hidden form of fitness. One plate, one sitting, one shot at fullness for the day. In the 1970s, some Black women turned to the one meal per day approach, long before it became a hashtag or a Silicon Valley trend. The logic was simple: eat one big meal, cut out breakfast and lunch, and watch the pounds drop. For women juggling tight grocery budgets and long work days, this approach wasn't just about slimming down, it was about stretching $1 and saving time. Oral histories recall mothers dishing up hearty stews or Sunday leftovers in the evening, sometimes making that meal a family event. The rest of the day, hunger was managed with coffee, water, or a piece of fruit if you were lucky. The results could be dramatic. Some women reported losing 5, even 10 pounds in a matter of weeks. The scale moved fast, and so did the gossip neighbors notice, and word spread quickly through church groups and salons. But the speed came at a price. Doctors in the 1970s sounded alarms in health columns and medical journals, warning that extreme calorie restriction could lead to dizziness, fatigue, and dangerous drops in blood sugar. Nutrient deficits weren't just possible, they were likely, especially for women already stretched thin by work and family demands. Today's research backs up those warnings. Eating only once a day risks muscle loss, slows the metabolism, and can throw off the body's natural rhythms. Yet for many, the promise of quick results outweighed the risks, at least for a while. One meal a day was seen as a shortcut to control in a world with too few options and too many pressures. It was a trick born from necessity, not from medical advice. In the countdown of weight loss methods from the 1970s, this approach stands out for its boldness and for the very real dangers that came with skipping 2 meals a day. Rapid loss, real risks, and a reminder: sometimes what works fast isn't what works best. Weight Watchers meetings in the 1970s didn't just happen in city storefronts or suburban strip malls, they took root in the heart of Black communities, right inside church fellowship halls. Every Wednesday evening, women filed into the basement, greeted by the familiar scent of coffee and the low hum of gospel music drifting from upstairs choir practice. The ritual was part diet club, part prayer circle. Members lined up for the weekly weigh-in, shoes off, hearts pounding, as the group leader, often a respected church mother, jotted down numbers in a spiral notebook. Accountability came with a side of encouragement. After weigh-ins, the group circled up to share victories and setbacks, swapping recipes for low-calorie stews or strategies for resisting pound cake at Sunday dinners. The Weight Watchers point system, new and a little confusing to some, became easier to track when explained by a trusted neighbor. The program's language adapted quickly. Talk of temptation and discipline blended with scripture, and the journey toward slimmer bodies was framed as both a health goal and a spiritual calling. The church setting mattered. Authority flowed from the pulpit and the fellowship hall alike, giving Weight Watchers a legitimacy that commercial diet plans rarely achieved elsewhere. The program's structure, weekly meetings, group support, and visible progress fit naturally into the rhythms of church life, reinforcing the sense that weight loss was a collective mission, not a solitary struggle. Doctors at the time were skeptical of fad diets and quick fixes, but they generally approved of Weight Watchers for its measured approach. No starvation, no risky pills, just calorie tracking and mutual support. For many Black women, these meetings offered more than a path to a smaller dress size. They built community, fostered accountability, and turned the pursuit of health into a shared, faith-infused practice. The blend of commerce and church created a bridge between risky restriction and the coming wave of convenience diets, proving that structure and sisterhood could go hand in hand. In the church basement, every pound lost was celebrated not just as a personal victory, but as a triumph for the whole congregation. Powdered meal replacement shakes arrived in the 1970s, promising a shortcut for Black women managing packed schedules and tight budgets. Brands like Carnation Slender and Sago lined grocery shelves, offering a simple plan: skip breakfast and lunch, drink a shake, and eat a regular dinner. The appeal was clear: no cooking, no cleanup, just a scoop of powder mixed with milk. Mainstream ads featured slim women in spotless kitchens, but in Black communities, the real selling point was practicality. For those balancing jobs, childcare, and household demands, shakes seemed to offer a manageable way to control calories and save time. Each shake delivered about 200 to 225 calories, with some protein and added vitamins. On paper, replacing 2 meals a day kept daily intake under 1,000 calories, making rapid weight loss seem attainable. But the reality often fell short. Many women reported feeling hungry by mid-afternoon, reaching for snacks or eating larger dinners to compensate. The shakes themselves could taste chalky or artificial, and early formulas sometimes lacked enough nutrients for sustained use. Medical columns in the era warned that relying on these diets for more than a few weeks could cause fatigue, muscle loss, or vitamin deficiencies. Despite these issues, the shake trend reflected a growing appetite for quick commercial solutions. Ebony and Jet occasionally ran ads for diet products, though rarely for shakes specifically. Marketing emphasized flavor variety, chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, framing weight loss as something easy or even enjoyable. For some, shakes worked as a temporary fix before special events or during busy periods, but most eventually returned to home-cooked meals or church-based support, learning firsthand the gap between convenience and real nourishment. The rise of shakes paved the way for even stricter faith-driven approaches to dieting. Long before intermittent fasting became a buzzword, Black women in the 1970s turned to fasting and prayer as a way to reset body and spirit. The practice ran deep in church communities, rooted in a theology that treated the body as a temple, a vessel to be cleansed and disciplined. Church bulletins sometimes called for fasts ahead of revival weeks or in response to personal struggles, and the idea of denying oneself food, even for a day or two, was framed as both sacrifice and purification. Women gathered in pews and kitchens, sharing testimonies about the power of going without, not just for faith, but for the waistline too. The physical effect was simple. Skipping meals creates a calorie deficit. Some women drank only water or herbal tea from sunrise to sunset, breaking the fast with a small home-cooked meal in the evening. Others paired fasting with extended prayer sessions, believing that spiritual focus could help them withstand hunger pangs and temptation. The discipline required was real, and so were the results, at least in the short term. Clothes fit looser, faces looked slimmer, and the sense of accomplishment ran as deep as any Sunday sermon. But the risks were real too. Medical journals from the era warned that fasting without medical oversight could lead to dehydration, fainting, or dangerous drops in blood pressure. Extended fasts, sometimes lasting several days, carried even greater dangers, especially for women already balancing work, family, and church obligations. Doctors cautioned that the weight loss was often water, not fat, and that repeated fasting could throw off the body's natural rhythms, leading to fatigue or even heart problems. Still, the spiritual motivation made the practice hard to challenge. For many, fasting and prayer offered a rare sense of control in a world that demanded so much. It was a ritual of faith, a test of willpower, and a reminder that the journey toward health could begin with the soul as much as the stomach. Every meal started at home, from scratch, in the kitchens of Black families during the 1970s. Store-bought snacks and processed foods rarely made it past the front door. Instead, dinner meant simmering pots of beans, slow-cooked greens, and cornbread baked in cast-iron skillets. Even breakfast was built from real ingredients: oatmeal, eggs, or grits, not boxes of sugary cereal. The rhythm of home cooking was not just about flavor or tradition, it shaped how much people ate and when. Without fast food on every corner and with few convenient snacks in the pantry, meals happened on a schedule, and hunger had to wait until the next plate was served. Gardens stretched behind row houses and between apartment buildings, growing collards, tomatoes, okra, and sweet potatoes. Canning jars lined pantry shelves, filled with summer's harvest to last through winter. Recipes passed down from grandmothers taught how to stretch a dollar and fill a belly without extra calories, turning garden produce into filling soups, stews, and casseroles. This way of eating naturally kept portions in check. Whole foods, rich in fiber and nutrients, made it easier to feel satisfied and less likely to reach for something extra between meals. Modern nutrition studies confirm what these kitchens already knew: real food keeps you fuller longer. Doctors of the time quietly approved, even if they did not always say so out loud. Home-cooked meals, built from simple ingredients, kept blood sugar steady and waistlines in check. The absence of snacking culture, no chips, no cookies on the counter, meant fewer empty calories sneaking in throughout the day. Eating together at the table, with food made by hand and stories shared between bites, was more than habit. It was a structure that shaped health, one meal at a time. In a world before calorie-counting apps or weight loss drugs, the kitchen itself became the first line of defense against unwanted pounds. For Black women in the 1970s, the answer was not found in a bottle or a diet plan. It was simmering on the stove and growing in the backyard. In the 1970s, plastic wrap became a secret weapon in salons, where women lined up for treatments that promised to shrink their waists just in time for church or a big night out. Stylists wound Saran wrap tightly around the midsection, sometimes adding a layer of heat cream or tucking towels beneath the plastic to trap every drop of sweat. Under the salon hooded dryers, the heat built up fast, and within an hour, the promise was clear: a visibly slimmer waist, tighter curves, and the satisfaction of seeing inches, if only water, left behind on the towel. Word spread quickly. Women swapped stories in waiting rooms about dropping a dress size overnight, and recipe cards for at-home wraps made the rounds between friends and sisters. But the effect was always fleeting. The sweat was just water, not fat, and as soon as women rehydrated, the inches returned. Doctors issued warnings in Black newspapers and health columns. Wrapping the body in plastic could lead to overheating, dehydration, and in rare cases, fainting or even hospitalization. Medical journals pointed to cases of heat illness, skin irritation, and dangerous drops in blood pressure. Still, the ritual continued, part beauty hack, part rebellion against doctors who rarely understood the pressures Black women faced to look their best on short notice. The Saran wrap trick stands out as the most controversial and the most talked about, and it captured exactly what made these 1970s weight loss methods so unforgettable, bold, ingenious, and never quite as safe as they seemed. Across all these weight loss tricks, one truth stands out. When the medical system failed to serve, Black women built their own solutions, resourceful, community-powered, and often ahead of their time. That legacy reveals the power of collective wisdom in the face of exclusion. Even now, it is grassroots knowledge, not just prescriptions, that transforms health. Which tradition or trick most surprised you? Drop your thoughts below and join the conversation.